So I finally watched Arcane and just, holy crap, what a show. And there may be spoilers in this video, I don't know, I haven't made it yet. But just so I'm covered, you've been warned. And I want to preface this by saying I really could not care less about League of Legends. It's a thing that exists, and I know it exists, but I have zero interest in ever playing it. However, the internet did what the internet does, and it went, no, Liam, you should watch this. And to its credit, the internet was right. I mean, I still don't give a crap about League, but its characters and its world, I would give so much crap for, because I am 100% hooked. In a world where live action anime is still on the very disappointing side of things, it is great to see gaming step up and produce some actual quality media. I really don't think I can overstate how good Arcane is, even if I was to use every superfluous... I don't think I can overstate how good Arcane is because I can't state anything. I don't think I can overstate how good Arcane is if I was to use every superfluous word in the dictionary. Took a lot of takes to get that right. Firstly, it has a stunning aesthetic. It's this funky mixture of 2D and 3D animation, which I know might sound terrifying for those of you who may not be a fan of such a thing. It does pop up in other places like Attack on Titan, that cops a lot of flack for it. And then of course Berserk inevitably comes up in conversation as well, but with Arcane, I assure you it is flawless, or like nigh on flawless. There were so many points where I became so immersed that I actually forgot that I was watching something animated. And I can't even begin to imagine how much money Riot spent on this, because it is a full-length 9-episode series and every second of it feels like pure cinematic quality. In fact, I feel like I did the series a bit of a disservice by watching it on my laptop, especially because there is a ton of aesthetic quality and variety. The series takes place primarily in two different locations, one a seedy, grimy undercity, filled with all sorts of very visceral textures and this gorgeous neon glow. And the other is the pristine upper city, which just exudes wealth. The architecture is painfully detailed, and there's a very clean sheen across everything. And within those locations, quite a complex story plays out. Actually, maybe not a complex story, but a series of increasingly complicated character interactions, which forms a story. Because I think the best thing I can say about Arcane is that it inhabits this wonderful space where it doesn't have a true protagonist or an antagonist. For the most part anyway. Some people are good, some people are less good. But everyone in this world, they honestly kind of suck in their own unique way. Even the seemingly perfect archetypes like Vander, who is your classic mentor figure, so much so that you know he's going to die the very second he appears on screen. But even with him, there's a lot of morally great crap going on, and he's the best of them. Another good example would be the little fluffy dude in charge of all of the science. Can't remember his name. Heimerdinger, that's the one. But for all intents and purposes, he's quite pure of heart, but he has such an old and clouded perspective on life that he has a severe neglect of all of the suffering happening right here and now. And again, those two are the best. Whereas everyone else, they go pretty dark as crap, and I am all here for it. Because it's a show where we get to explore a series of opposing ideologies, everyone has their own problems, those problems have their own solutions, except those solutions end up causing more problems for others, which means more solutions, which means more problems, and it all just evolves into a cacophony of conflict. One where you don't really know whose side you're on, or at least I didn't. I mean, for example, I feel like I want to be on Vi's side. I loved whenever she was on screen, she kicked a fantastic amount of beautifully animated CGI butt, but she's so volatile and quick to resort to violence that there's a lot of situations where it just made me take a step back and go, I'm not entirely sure I'm here for this with you. And that happens with everyone. I was constantly searching for a hero because that's just how my brain is wired when it comes to storytelling. I'm always looking for someone to serve as that beacon of, aha, that's the way we want to do things, and it just never happened. At the same time though, the opposite is also true. My mind was always searching for a counter to that. A clear villain where we go, no, you are bad and the things you do are bad. And even though I guess that does kind of exist with Silco, he also becomes shockingly empathizable by the end. And really just another in a long line of characters doing horrible things for the sake of meeting the bare requirements of existing. And when every character is someone you simultaneously like and dislike, it makes the scenes of conflict very interesting to say the least. Because I very rarely wanted someone to lose or die, especially die actually, didn't want anyone to die. But you know, that's just not how life goes. And as a result, tragedy occurs repeatedly, and we get to watch these characters fall further and further into the abyss. And you know, I don't know if any of them are League characters. Again, I don't know crap about League. I'm assuming they are, because if you're gonna make a series about your game, then it's probably a wasted opportunity not to. But to the show's credit, I at least found it very difficult to distinguish who is a game character character and who is just someone else who exists in the place. The only time I think that immersion broke a bit was with Jace towards the end of the series, where he starts kicking ass with the, the Hex Tech Hammer, which was a bit weird because up until then he'd just been a pure scientist slash politician, and then all of a sudden he's a martial arts genius wielding a weapon that I don't think he's ever used. So that's when I was like, oh, he's a game character and that's why he can do things. For the most part though, and this is the inevitable comparison with anything fantasy related, I guess, but it succeeds on the same sort of level that Game of Thrones did, by creating a truly captivating ensemble cast worthy of investing your time into. From there, your heroes turn into villains, villains turn into heroes, and then you can keep switching them back and forth, and it really keeps you on your toes because you're never quite sure what the next interaction is going to bring. I think my favorite character by far is Jinx, because her story as a child, it obliterated my heart, and her brand of character is very rare to see pulled off well. Not rare to see done well. Because Jinx goes full crazy in Arcane, almost evoking a sort of Joker vibe, while still somehow staying empathetic enough to make her descent into madness ever so painful to watch. But honestly, with me, what I love is it's pretty much just her aesthetic. The Mad Tinker vibe with all of the cutesy bombs, the monkey, and the childish neon graffiti. It's a very twisted juxtaposition of that innocence to such a dark level, which by the way, neon graffiti is such a perfect way of doing that, because neon by its very nature can only shine its brightest when it is surrounded by pitch darkness, which is the beautifully twisted nature of Jinx. And I'll say that as much as I love the series, there are some minor issues I have. The character interactions were great for the most part, but there were a couple of scenes that fall into a bit of storytelling syndrome, where I feel like every problem could have been solved by just having a character talk to the other character, but for whatever reason they say nothing and then something happens, and that lack of communication gets taken the wrong way and things escalate like a soap opera. So some of that was a bit clunky, but whatever, it's fine. I'll also say, as much as I did lose myself in this 2D 3D mix world, something Arcane didn't quite nail was that one sex scene, because there's a point where two characters get it on in some sort of artsy montage, and it was probably the most unnatural that Arcane ever looked. It was like watching two AI programs initiating sex.exe, and it felt very artificial. Unlike the rest of the series, because to Arcane's credit, nothing else ever broke that immersion, and the fight scenes in particular were beyond stunning. The movement was so fluid, and you could really feel the brutal oomph of the impact behind every hit. And also, they were able to use slow motion effects to really enhance the combat, which is another thing that can go very wrong very, very easily. However, the true hero of Arcane is the score, something that hits you immediately from the opening song Enemy, because it sets the perfect vibe. It has this wonderful hip-hop street feel, but also the music itself, it's kind of hard to describe this, but it's so deep and dark. Like, it feels very heavy and epic, but also somehow quite personal. And it's a pretty incredible earworm as well. Like, it pops into my head at all times. I'll just be walking through my house and then bam! Oh, the misery. And I won't sing anymore because I'll get flagged by copyright. In fact, I probably shouldn't have even sung that much. Although I think the most effective use of music goes to the piece that underscores the final scene of episode 9, and it is just so perfect. Because it's a climax of tragedy. A character makes a particular choice, I imagine a world-changing choice, and the music supports that action masterfully. And honestly, I will never forget that ending as long as I live. I've also become a big fan of Jinx's theme, get jinxed. It has some really nice, dark, peppy fun about it. But Arcane is easily, and I mean easily, the best thing I've watched all year. I cannot wait for more, but due to the insane production quality, I don't think that'll be anytime soon.